We begin today the Gemara on Daf Pei Ches Amud Aleph, 4 lines down from the top of the Yomut. It said in the Mishnah, "Chayvul be'eved Kanani shel acherim chayiv v'chulu." If you injure an eved Kanani that belongs to someone, you chayiv to pay for this injury. But then the Gemara brings the opinion of Rav Yehuda that says that you chayiv to pay all the different kinds of payment for this, besides for baishes, for embarrassment. That kind of payment a eved Kanani does not receive. Says the Gemara, my time with Rav Yehuda. What's the source for Rav Yehuda? Omakra, the pasuk where it speaks about the payment of embarrassment, it says, "Ki yinotza noshim yachtav," if men were fighting with one another, and the ish va'achiv, and then it says a man and his brother, and then over there the pasuk describes how one woman came along and embarrassed one man, and she has to pay for this embarrassment. So we learn from the language of the pasuk, it says ish va'achiv, a man and his brother, v'mi sheyesh le'achva, that the payment of the baishes is for a person where there's brotherlyhood, when there's someone that's defined as a brother. Yatsa eved, but this excludes an eved though, she'ein loy achva. He does not have this brotherlyhood with Yidden, and the reason is because the eved is someone that cannot marry into Klal Yisrael, even though he's to some extent a Yid, he's chayiv and mitzvahs like a woman, as the Gemara will soon say here. But nevertheless, he's not called a brother because he can't marry into Klal Yisrael, so therefore, there's no payment of baishes because it doesn't fit what the pasuk says. Ish and achiv. The Rabbanon that disagree with this, and they say that there is a payment of baishes even for an eved Kanani. Achiv hu b'mitzvahs, that even an eved is a brother to Yidden in some extent. He can't marry into Klal Yisrael, but he's chayiv in mitzvahs to some extent. He's chayiv in mitzvahs like a woman. There's always a drasha Rashi brings. We learn out the term law that it says by a woman and the term law that it says by an eved, that they're compared, that he's chayiv in mitzvahs like a woman. So therefore the payment of baishes applies to him as well. So here now the Gemara is going to go through a discussion regarding various different halachas, how it relates to this machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanon, whether an eved is called a brother for Yidden or he's not called a brother. Says the Gemara, now according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, Zaymim eved lo yareigu. If you have Adam that said false testimony on an eved, they wanted to be mechayiv this eved misa, and they were found to be false, and you have to give the punishment kasha zomam, like what they plotted, what they intended to do for this person. But by the zaymin for an eved kanani, they should not get any chiyav misa if they intended to give this eved kanani misa. The Torah says that you have to give the punishment of kasha zomam, what they intended to do to their brother, and according to Rav Yehuda, a eved is not defined as a brother. So what's the Gemara's question? So Rashi he brings that the Gemara in Makkos learns out and says that the halacha is that the punishment for Edom Zaymimin does apply, even if their testimony was for an eved Kanani. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, if the pasuk says la'achiv, it should not apply. He's not called a brother. Rav said in the name of Rav Sheshes to answer this. Makro, there, but the parsha of Edom Zaymimin, the Torah then adds, Uviyarta hara mikir becha. You should clear out the evil from amongst you. So this term mikir becha says mikol makim, that you have to clear out this evil of the false testimony of the Edom Zaymimin in any case, including even if it's an edus against the eved Kanani, even though he can't really be defined as a brother. So this extra pasuk teaches that here the punishment does apply. Now, according to the Rabbanon's opinion that say that an eved Kanani is called a brother because he's chayiv in mitzvahs like a woman, eved yehi kosher l'malchus. An eved Kanani should be kosher to be able to be a king. And then we know that an eved Kanani cannot become a king, but why not? He's a brother. He's a brother he's a yid like other yidden in that sense. So he should be able to be a king. So Amri, they said to answer this question, according to your reasoning, they're asking this question. You should ask the question regarding a person that's a ger, and that's a question not only on Rabbanon, that's a question according to everybody. Why can't a ger be a king? And here Rashi brings the halacha that a ger can't be a king, and he can't even be a shaiter, a police, or any position of leadership that cannot be applied to, cannot be by a ger. The Gemara says this in Yevamis, but the question is why not? So if you're asking a question regarding a eved, ask the same question regarding a ger. So what's the answer for this? Huh? Yeah, of course. A ger is mamish a full-fledged yid, so that's a question on everybody. Why a ger is definitely a full-fledged yid, and he's called achicha, is your brother. So why can't he be a king? Ella, the answer is Omakra. The pasuk says by a king mikerev achecha. that you appoint a king, it should be from within your brothers. So this term Mikerev Achecha means Mimufchar Shebachecha, from the chosen one amongst your brothers. That terminology says that this excludes an Eved or a Ger. So therefore, the Rabbanan are saying here that an Eved could be a brother, but nevertheless he can't be appointed as a king. Another question on the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan that say that an Eved is called a brother and he's a Yid. Yehei Eved kosher le'edos. An Eved Kanani should be a kosher le'edos. He should be able to say testimony in Bezdin. Because the pasuk describes Eidos v'hine eid sheker ha'ed. He said false testimony. Sheker ana ba'achiv. He said a false testimony in his brother. So the Torah uses the term achiv, that an Eidos, as long as he's a brother, he can say Eidos. Eved Kanani is also a brother according to the Rabbanan. So why can't he say Eidos? So here the Gemara is going to go through a lengthy discussion, bringing the sources for this that an Evet Kanani cannot be an Eidos. Amarola. All it says, the reason for this is Eidos le'matzis amris. You can't say that Evet Kanani could be a kosher Eidos even if he's called a brother, but he still can't be a kosher Eidos. Why not? Asya Eidos b'kavachayim meisha. Because we learn out this halacha of Eidos regarding Evet Kanani that he cannot be Eidos from a woman. What's the kavachayim? Uma isha shihiru uyulav b'kahal. If when it comes to a woman and she can marry into Klal Yisrael, I'm talking about the regular Jewish woman that marries into Klal Yisrael, but nevertheless psula Eidos. She's still puzzled to say Eidos. As the pasuk regarding Eidos, it says Shnei ha'anoshim. Right, there has to be men. So you will learn from there that a woman is puzzled for Eidos. So Eved she'ein roi lava b'kol, an Eved that's not fit to get married to Klal Yisrael, ein edin shel pasal Eidos. Most definitely he's going to be puzzled to Eidos. So we learn it from a woman. It's a kavachaymer. But the Gemara asks on this kavachaymer, Mali Isha, I can tell you that by a woman, there's another reason, there's another factor about her, which is the reason why she's pasal Eidos. She can't ein ruya lemila. Because a woman, she doesn't have a mitzvah of bris milah. So maybe because she doesn't have the mitzvah of bris milah, that's why she's puzzled for Eidos as well. Taimar be'eved, however, when it comes to an eved, shuroy lemila, by an eved, since by him, there is a mitzvah of bris milah that there is by an eved kanani. Eved kanani has a bris. So maybe he's kosher to be an Eidos as well. Says the Gemara, okay, so we can't learn it just with the kavachayim from the Isha, Katni Yechiach. But I'll prove to you this point that a Isha is pasal Eidos from a katan, from a child. Sheyeshna b'milah, he has the mitzvah of bris milah, but a pasal Eidos. But he's also pasal Eidos, and it's learned from the same pasuk that Rashi quotes here. Shnei ha'anoshim. Anoshim excludes women, and it also excludes a katan that's not an ish. He's not anoshim. Rashi actually gives a second reason as well why children are pasal Eidos. The reason is because it's an Eidos she'iyatu yachal azima. In order to be a kosher Eidos, you have to be able to qualify for becoming Eidim Zayimim, to get that punishment for saying false testimony. But by a katan, there's no einshim, so he can't say Eidos. So you can learn that from a katan. If a katan is pasal Eidos, you can learn that Evet Kanani is also pasal Eidos. But the Gemara asks, no, you can't learn from a katan to an Evet Kanani. Why not? A katan is not a bar einshin, he has no das, there's no obligation of mitzvahs at all. However, regarding Evet Kanani, shuba mitzvahs, he has an obligation of mitzvahs like a woman. So maybe he is kosher Eidos. So you can't learn out the psul of Evet Kanani for Eidos, not from an Isha and not from a katan. So the Gemara says, well, Isha techiach, this that you're telling me, the reason why a katan cannot be a Eidos is because he has not obligated a mitzvahs at all. I can prove you from a Isha that that's not the only reason. A Isha is chayiv in mitzvahs, and still she yeshna b'mitzvahs upsula Eidos, and she's still pasal for Eidos. And here the Gemara says we're going to learn from both together. V'chazar adin, and then you try to learn out from one, you can't learn out from one, and you go to the other, from Isha to katan. And I tell you that loyri zeh kirizeh, v'loyri zeh kirizeh. Each one of them has a unique character that shows a certain reason why you would say that the Isha is pasal Eidos, or why you would say the katan is pasal Eidos, but they're not the same. By the Isha, it's because she has no bris. By a katan, it's because he's not chayiv and mitzvahs. And these two things are not similar. And therefore I say that the reason you find by each one of them specifically cannot be the cause for why they're pasal Eidos, because I don't find it by the other, which is pasal without that reason. So what's the reason why they're pasal Eidos? Hatzad, Ashav, Shebehen, the common denominator, what the reason that you see by both of them is, Sheken Einon b'chol ha-mitzvahs, both a Isha and a katan are not chayiv in all mitzvahs like a man, upsul and they're pasal to say Eidos. So this point, I say, applies to Evet Kanani. Afani obvious eved, the same as with an eved. She'enoi b'chol ha-mitzvahs. He's not chayiv in all mitzvahs. Upasalad, and therefore he's possible to say edus. That's the source that eved Kanani, even though he's a brother, like Rabbanan hold, but nevertheless we learn from a isha and a cotton together to teach us that an eved Kanani is possible edus. But the Gemara asks on this limit as well. Even learning from both together, there's a problem here. Why? If you're learning from both together, from the isha and from the cotton, but when you look at what's similar about them, you can say that they're both shekain einay ish. Both of them are not a man. The pasuk it says edus is anoshim, a man. So that's not a woman and not a cotton. So therefore they're both pasul edus. Maybe that's the factor. That's the reason that they're both pasul. Taima be'eved. However, if you're looking at an eved kanani shu ish, eved kanani is a ish. So even though he's not chayiv in all mitzvahs, but he's an ish, so maybe you should be a kosher edus. Hello. Therefore, the Gemara says we're going to have to bring in another point here. Teisi migazlan. We could learn that the evet kanani is pasul edus from this that a gazlan is pasul edus, a robber is pasul edus. The Rashi here brings, we learn from the pasuk where it says al toshes yotcha, and then it says al toshes rasha, that a rasha should not be edus. Who's the rasha? A person that's a robber cannot be a good edus. So just like a robber can't be an edus, so we learn out so too that evet kanani cannot be a good edus. Okay, so the Gemara says, well, how could you compare an Evet Kanani to a Gazlan? Mala Gazlan, she came Maisav Garmaloi. By an Evet Kanani, by a Gazlan, that is, it's his actions, the fact that he's stealing someone's money, and therefore the Torah says he's a Rasha, that causes him to be Pasaledus. Taima be'evet, however, by Evet, even if he's not chayiv and mitzvahs fully like a regular Yid, but she'em Maisav Garmaloi, there is none of his own actions that are causing him to be different than anybody else, and therefore, who says he's excluded from being a kosher edus? Hello, so the Gemara concludes, Teisi migazlin or michad mahanoch. We're going to learn out from a gazlin, together with one of the ones mentioned before, which is either a isha or an eved, that what's the common denominator between a gazlin and one of these, either a isha or not a isha and an eved, a isha or a cotton. One of these, you can learn out the gazlin together with one of them. So Rashi explains that both of them together, they don't have all mitzvahs by them. Either because a gazlan is not careful with all mitzvahs, he's a gazlan, so he's a rasha, or a isha is not chayiv in mitzvahs, or a cotton is also not chayiv in all mitzvahs. So both of them, the common denominator is that they don't have all mitzvahs by them, and therefore they're pasul edus. And from there you learn out to an evet kanani as well, it's not chayiv in all mitzvahs and he's pasul edus. And over here you can't ask the question that we asked before, that the tzad hashava is ish. The gazlan is a ish. He's a ish, but he's still pasul edus. Why? Because he's not no, but he's not fulfilling all mitzvahs. So because he's not fulfilling on all mitzvahs, so therefore he doesn't have all mitzvahs by him, and that's the reason for the fact that he's pasul edus. Look at what Rashi says. She'enan zehirin b'chol mitzvahs. The tzad hashava is that they don't do all mitzvahs. They're not careful with all mitzvahs, whether because they're not obligated or because they're just not doing it. And that's the reason for the psul, and therefore we could apply that by the Evet Kanani as well. This is one source for the psul of Evet Kanani in mitzvahs. Mar bered Ravina, Mar, the son of Ravina, so he said a different source. He says, Omar Kra, the pasuk says, La Yumsu Avas Albanim. Now, what's the simple pshat of this pasuk? La Yumsu Avas Albanim, in the simple pshat, the pasuk is coming to teach that you can't accept edus of a relative. A father can't say edus, or you can't give a death to a father based on the edus of a child. That's the simple pshat of the pasuk. But he darshans this pasuk differently. What the pasuk means to say is, La yumsu, you can't use an edus to give a chiyuv misa to someone with an edus which came al pi avos she'elam chayis banim. If it came from a person which is a father that gives birth to a child and there's no yichus of the child to the father. What is this? This is an Evet Kanani. By an Evet Kanani, the child has no yichus to the father. The yichus of an Evet Kanani goes to the mother, not to the father. It says by Evet Kanani, there's no yichus to the father. Okay, so therefore, in the way he's touching the pasuk is, Yumsu avos albanim. You can't give a chiyuv misa if according to a father that doesn't have a yichus to the son. That's how he's darshaning this pasuk. Now, the Gemara explains, why is he darshaning the pasuk this way? Why doesn't he just learn the simple pshat of the pasuk that it's coming to say the halacha that you don't accept edus of a relative, a son, to say edus for a father? So the Gemara explains, because if you're going to think and say that what we learn from this pasuk is just a simple pshat, as this is taught elsewhere, that Rashi brings, this is the pshat that it says in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, that layumsu avos al banim means be'edus banim, that you can't give a chiv misa to the father with the edus of his son, a relative. So then lichtiv rachmana, the more appropriate language of the pasuk would be to say layumsu avos al b'neihem, that a father should not be put to death by the edus of their son. Their son meaning you want to say here that the relative, the son of the father. So you can't give a chiv misa. My banim. Why does the Torah just use the term banim? Not making the point that we're talking about the son of this father and that it's a relative. It just says banim stam, children. Shema mina, so from the change of the language of the pasuk, I learn out from here this other halacha regarding an Evet Kanani, the layumsu, that you can't give a chiv misa al pi avos she'en lahem chayis banim. According to the edus of a father, which is Evet Kanani, and therefore his children have no yichus to him. That's a new drasha that we can learn out, an additional drasha we can learn out from this pasuk, from the change of the language. That's the first half of the pasuk. Now the Gemara goes now to the second half of that pasuk. After it says la yumsu avos al banim, the pasuk continues and says ubanim la yumsu al avos. So the Gemara wants to understand now, according to this drasha, how are we going to understand the second half of the pasuk? Elameyatos, and according to this, when the pasuk then continues and says ubanim la yumsu al avos, how are you going to darshan this? Achinami, over here also, are you going to say a similar pshat that lo yumsu, that you can't give a chiv misa based on an eidos al pi bonim she'ein lehem chayis avis, that according to the eidos of children that don't have a yichus to their father? That's just like you're saying before, that you can't give you can't use eidos from fathers, that their children have no yichus to them. So in the second half of the pasuk, it seems like you would have to touch similar, that you can't give misa from an eidos from children that have no yichus to their father. Now, what is this? The Gemara says, what if you're going to touch over here this way? So if so, elager, ochanami, the apostle eidos. So would that mean that a ger would be apostle for eidos? Because a ger is an individual that he has no yichus to his father. Okay? That's so by an eved, there's no yichus from the father to the son. But by a ger, there's no yichus from the son to the father, because a ger is gekatan shenayla dami. After his ger, it's just like he's born. He's like a child that's born, and therefore he has no yichus to the father. So seemingly over here in the second part of the pasuk, you should learn out that a ger is pasal eidos. Well, we know that that's not true. A ger is kashal eidos, but why don't we learn it out over here from this pasuk? So the Gemara explains, Omri, they answered to this and they said as follows. No, you can't compare. We're not learning out this rasha. Just like regarding an eved that is possible, so too by a ger. Why? Hachi hashta. There's no comparison. Ger, when it comes to a ger, nihi de ein loy chayis lamayla. This ger has no yichus to his father, but lamata yesha chayis. However, to the generations below, in other words, to his child, he does have a yichus. If he gives birth to whatever child he gives, it's his child. There is a yichus here. However, when it comes to an eved, over there it's different. An eved Kanani has no yichus to his father, and if he gives birth, the child also has no yichus to him. So there's no concept of yichus at all, not to the father or not to a son. So it's a different story. So therefore, dafka by the eved Kanani, we learn out this drasha that he's pasal eidos. Now the Gemara explains why you can't say that a ger should be pasal as well. Maybe we should still say that we're going to dash near the pasuk to say that because a ger has no yichus to his father, he's pasal eidos. So the Gemara explains, if you think to say ger pasal eidos, that we're going to learn from here even to say this bigger chiddush, that even a ger is pasal for eidos. If so, lichtay rachmana, let the Torah just say lo yumsu avos al b'neihem. The Torah could say, like the Gemara pointed out before, if all it's coming to say is like the simple pshat of the pasuk that relatives cannot say eidos, so let it say the term of la yumsu avos al b'neihem, that you can't give death to a father by the eidos of his son, which is a relative. The kedam rinon, like we said before, that would be the simple pshat of the pasuk, and then la yumsu be'eidos banim. Okay, so that one second. That goes together. That's the simple pshat of the pasuk, that a father is not put to death by the testimony of his children. That's the concept of a relative. That's pasuk. That would be the pshat in the first part of the pasuk. I don't need to use that part of the pasuk to teach me that an eved kanani is pasuk. And then I would say as follows. Let's look at the second half of the pasuk. Then in the second half of the pasuk, when the Torah says "Ubanim lo yumsu al oves," the shamit mino, and then you'll say that over here in this part of the pasuk I can learn out 2 points today. I learn out 2 points from here. One point I learn out is lo yumsu banim be'edus oves. The simple pshat of the pasuk is that a son cannot be put to death by the testimony of his father because he's a relative. That's a simple pshat. And then v'idach, and then I learn out another drasha here, and this is based on what the Gemara said before, because it doesn't say avoisam. It says avos, la yumsu banim al avos. So from this I learn out another drasha, la yumsu, that you can't use a testimony to put someone to death, al pi banim she'elem chayis avis, according to a person that's a son that he has no yichus to his father. And who's this? Who's the son that has no yichus to the father? The ger. A ger has no yichus to his father, even though there is a yichus to his children to him, but he has no yichus to his father. And that's what I would darshan from the second half of the pasuk to say that a ger is pasaledus. And now once I know this, I would also know automatically that a evet kanani is pasaledus. And the evet nafkale b'kal v'chaymer. The fact that a evet kanani would be pasaledus, I would learn this with a kal v'chaymer. Mi ger, from the ger. Uma ger, if I see in this pasuk when it comes to a ger, the lamaylo dein lechayis. He only has no yichus to his father. Avlamata yesh lechayis. But he has a yichus to his son has a yichus to him. Pasaleidos, in this part of the pasuk it's saying that it's pasaleidos. Evet shein lechayis loy lemaylo v'loy lamata. An evet kanani, that there's no yichus, he has no yichus not to his father, and his sons have no yichus to him either. Ein edin shei pasaleidos. Most definitely he should be pasaleidos. So you don't need a separate drasha in the first half of the pasuk to teach me that an evet kanani is pasaleidos. The Shaitan actually point out it's not even necessary to have this kal v'chomer. The moment you say that a ger is pasaleidos because he has no yichus to his father, evet kanani also has no yichus to his father, so he's included in that drasha automatically. So the Gemara concludes, Elo medekasav rachmanu la yumsu avos al banim. In the first half of the pasuk, the fact that it says the term of la yumsu avos al banim, it doesn't say b'nei hem, it says banim. That's as the Gemara pointed out before. It's switching this term using banim, the stam term banim, the mashma. And from this we see that la yumsu. We're learning from here to pasal evet kanani, that you can't give death to someone al pi avos she'en lechayis banim, based on the testimony from a person that's a father that has no yichus to his children. So that means that in this part of the pasuk it's talking about the evet kanani. So Shema Mina, what we understand from this is as follows. Why does the Torah have to write an extra drasha to teach me that an Evet Kanani is pasaledus? So we understand from this that Evet she'en lechayis loy lamaylo v'loy lamata, by Evet Kanani, there's no concept of yichus by him at all. Not for him to his father, and not from him to his children. Who the pasaledus? That's a person that's pasaledus. That's what we see from the first part of the pasuk. Aval ger, however, when it comes to a ger, even the yeshle chayis lamata, even though he has no yichus to his father, but there's a yichus from him to his son, kashaledus. So therefore, he is going to be kashaledus. That's what we understand from this, that the Torah is writing an extra pasuk to tell me that Evet Kanani has no yichus. It must be that a ger is kashaledus. Now, if so, the Gemara concludes this. If that's the case, lichtov rachmane. And now in the second part of the pasuk, there's no drasha, there's no reason to die. We're not learning out from here that a ger is pasaleidos. If so, banim lichtav rachmana, the Torah should write banim lo yumsu al avoseihem, that the children cannot be put to death from the testimony of their father, which means that the pasuk would be simply teaching me the halacha that a relative can't say testimony. It's not coming to teach me that a ger is pasaleidos. Why does the Torah write the language lo yumsu al avos? Why Avestam, if the second part of the pasuk is coming to say that a relative can't say this? Lamali the Kasar Rachmana Bana La Yumsu Al Aves. Why is he using this term? The mashma, and it would seem from this that it's coming to say La Yumsu Al Pi Banim She'elam Chayis Aves. It sounds like it's coming to say that you can't accept testimony from a person that's a son that has no yichus to his father, which would mean that even a ger is pasaledus. But as the Gemara just pointed out, that drasha is not true. Because we see that the Torah is only pasling a Evet Kanani and not the ger. If the Torah was pasling a ger, you wouldn't need an extra pasuk to pasl Evet Kanani because it's a kal v'chaymer. So why is the Torah using this language? So the Gemara says the reason is Aidi the kasav la yumsu avos al banim, because in the first half of the pasuk it uses this term of banim stam. It doesn't say b'nei hem. In the first half of the pasuk, it's coming to teach me that an Evet Kanani is pasal eidos. Kasav nami ubanim la yumsu al avos. The Torah uses a similar term in the second half of the pasuk. It says the term avos and not avoseihem, even though in the second half of the pasuk it should have said avoseihem, because the only drasha that there is from the second half of the pasuk is to say that a relative can't say testimony. So okay, this is the conclusion of the Sinyan. This is the drasha that the Gemara says, another drasha here to teach me that Evet Kanani is pasaledus, but only Evet Kanani, not a ger. Going back to what it said in the Mishnah, a cheresh, shaita v'katan, a deaf mute, or a shaita, or a katan, a child, pigiyasan ra. If you have an interaction with them, then it's going to be bad for you. As the Mishnah explained, that if you are going to be mazik them, you have to pay them for this damage. But if they're mazik you, they have no das, they're not going to be chayav to pay you. Okay, the Gemara here starts a new inyan. This will be a long discussion, and then eventually the Gemara is going to come back to bring from this Mishnah a proof to the subject that we're bringing up here. So the Gemara says the story that happened was as follows. He made it of Shmuel bar Abba Mahagrunya, the mother of Shmuel bar Abba from Hagrunya. Havas nesiva le Rababa. She was married to Rababa. So this mother of Rav Shmuel bar Abba was married first to one person by the name of Abba, and then she had a son with that man, and then she got remarried to another Abba, and then also to Rab Abba. So she went and she wrote that her properties, which are properties that are called nichse meluk. These are properties during the time of the marriage to her husband. So what happens with these properties? Nichse meluk. The actual properties itself belong to her. But the paytas of the property, who's the one that eats the fruits of the properties of a wife? The husband. So she went and she wrote those properties as a gift for her son. It wasn't her husband's son, it was her son, and she wrote it as a gift for him. So now, after she passed away, so her son, Rav Shmuel bar Abba, wanted to take that gift that her mother wrote for her. The question is, could she keep that gift? Does she get this gift? Or, no, maybe it goes to the husband. The halacha usually is that when a woman dies, who's the one that inherits all of the properties of the wife? The husband inherits all of this, not the children. So over here, though, the mother, in her lifetime, wrote that it should be a gift for the son. The question is, will the son get it, or does it go as a yerusha to the husband, like it usually does?
Second husband.
Yeah, the second husband. Yeah, that this is the husband that we're talking about now. So Azar Rav Shmuel bar Abba kamed Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba. Rav Shmuel bar Abba came to Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba to ask him about this. So Oikmei b'nichsi. Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba said that he can keep these properties that his mother wrote for him as a gift. Oh, so Rab Abba, the husband, he wanted to inherit from his wife. He says, no, it belongs to me. So Rab Abba himself went. Amra Lamilsa Kameda Rav Hoshia. He told over this psak din of Rav Yirmiyah to Rav Hoshia. Also Rav Hoshia Amra Kameda Rav Yehuda. Rav Hoshia went and said over this psak din to Rav Yehuda. And Rav Yehuda said about this psak din is not true. Amalei, he said, Hachi Yama Shmuel. This is what Shmuel said. Ha'isha shemachra b'nichse melug b'chaye baila. A wife that went and sold from her properties that are nichse melug, which the husband eats the paytas from it, and she sold it to someone in the lifetime of the husband. Umeisa abal, and then the husband dies. Moitzi miyad ala kulchais. The husband can go and confiscate these properties from the buyer, and he's the one that inherits these properties, even though the wife already sold it when she was alive.
Huh? She died.
What? Umesa, sorry, I read it Umesa Abal, sorry. Yeah. Umesa, sorry, of course. Umesa, and she died. Habal Moitzi miyad ala kulchais. The husband can go and take the properties from the lakuchais. So therefore, over here, the same thing. She gave it as a gift to her son, and then she dies. The husband is the one that goes and inherits this, not the son that she gave it as a gift to.
This is a Yerusha, it's selling, it's not the same.
Okay, so but l'chayda, once she has, what's the point of here? She has the ownership in the guf of the karka, and the actual karka belongs to her. The husband only has the paytas of the karka. Question is, the fact that when she's alive, the husband has the ownership of the paytas of the karka, does that prevent her of selling it when she's alive? So, okay,
so she didn't sell it. She gave it for a
same thing. Whether she sold it or whether she decided to give it as a gift to her son, it's the same thing. Could she sell it or give it as a gift because she owns the guf of the karka, or no? She can't. Why? Because the husband owns the paytas. Since he owns the paytas while she's alive, she has no ability to give it as a gift or to sell it. And even if she did, when she dies, the husband will inherit this. That's seemingly the shayla over here. Now the Gemara is going to bring on this that l'chayda there's a raya against this psak din of that was said in the name of Shmuel. So Amru Kamed Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, they said over the psak din that Shmuel said, that Shmuel argued with his psak din and said that the husband will inherit it. Amalahu. So he said to them, Ana masnita yadaina or masnisin yadaina. I have a mishnah. There's a mishnah that supports what I said, And again, the chiddush, the point that Rabbi Yirmiyah is saying is that this wife, because she owns the guf of the karka, even though the paytas belong to the husband, she has the right and the ability to sell it or give it as a gift while she's alive, and then the husband later will not inherit it. Where do we see a source for this? So the Gemara here brings a Mishnah and a whole discussion about this Mishnah, which will be a source for this halacha. We learned in the Mishnah as follows. A person that writes that he's giving his property as a gift to his son, but when should it become his son's? After he passes away. So now the Gemara understands, as we'll see soon, that the meaning of this kind of gift is that while the father is still alive, the father should still be able to use this property. But when the father will pass away, then the son will get it. Meaning that really, from the moment that he wrote this gift, that he's giving it to his son, the guf of the karka, this is a similar case of what we're discussing before, because the guf of the karka itself belongs now to the son, because it was, the father gave it as a gift to his son. But to paytas though, while the father's still alive, the father's the one that could eat the paytas.
Why do we say that for?
That's the way the Gemara understands this gift. What is he doing? If he's giving a gift and telling his son that I'm giving this to you as a gift, but it's only after I pass away. Why is he saying only after he passes away? Because he wants to be able to use it and have it until he passes away. Well, then after he passes away, then it'll become the son's. So again, that means that the guf of the karka belongs to the son already, but the paytas still belong to the father. So the Mishnah there says, what's the halacha? Eine yachal limkar, the father cannot sell this property anymore. Or the son for it. 1 second. First it says about the son. I skipped one word. Haben ene yochel limkar. The son cannot sell this property. Mipnei shein b'reshus hahav. It's still in the possession of the father. The father is the one that eats the paytas, and while the father eats the paytas, the son can't sell it. V'ha'av ene yochel limkar. Same thing. The father cannot now sell this property to anyone else. Mipnei shein ksubim leben, because he already wrote off that the guf of the property belongs to the son. Mishnah goes on and says, if the father sold his property to someone, mechurim, the sale is only in effect achi yamas, until he passes away. But once the father passes away, then the son, which was the previous, he's the one that got this as a gift from before, he's the one that will get it. If the son sells the property, the lekeach has nothing of this property until the father passes away, because during the lifetime of the father is the one that retained the rights to use the paytas of the property. So the sale only takes effect when the father passes away. That's the Mishnah. Now the Gemara explains how do we understand this Mishnah. There's the machlokes here. The Gemara is going to bring here between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yechanan how we understand this Mishnah. Kima yisav, when the father passes away, Mia islei lekeach. The son, if he sold this property that his father gave him as a gift, once the father passes away, that buyer from the son will get this property. And now what does that mean? So the Gemara now says, according to one opinion, Va'afal gav demeisa ben b'chayeyav, and that's even if the son died before the father died, ben, even though the son never actually ended up getting it, because the son died before. And the son, when he sold the property, he only had the guf of the property that was his and not the paytas. And nevertheless, he has the power to sell it, that after the father will pass away, that buyer will get it. And the Gemara says, whose opinion is this? Rab Shimon ben Lakish. This is what Rab Shimon ben Lakish said in the pshat of this Mishnah. The Omar, Rab Shimon ben Lakish said in this Mishnah, Lo yishno meisa ben b'chayeyav, makes no difference if the son died in the lifetime of the father. So the son never actually fully got this property. Or in a case where the father died first, and now the son actually did fully get this property, the son got it. The person that the son sold it to will get this property from the sale, from the son. And the Gemara brings that this was Reish Lakish's opinion, but there was a machlokes about this between Rabbi Yechanan and Reish Lakish. The Itmer, we learned the machlokes how to understand this Mishnah as follows. In this case, again, when the father gave the son a gift, this property, and the property itself already belongs to the son, but the paytas still belongs to the father. And now the son went and sold this when the father was still alive. The son died before the father died. Rabbi Yechanan says, the lekeach will not acquire anything here. The Shlakish says, the lekeach will acquire this property from the son after the father passes away. So So the Gemara explains the basis of the machlekes. Rabbi Yochanan says the lekeach does not acquire anything. Amalach will tell you, kikatani masnisa, when it says in the Mishnah we quoted before, machar ben loy kana lekeach at sheyamas ha'av, that if the son sells it, so the buyer doesn't get it until the father dies. But v'chimayisav, once the father dies, islay lekeach, then the son does, the buyer from the son does get the property. That's only the loy meis haben v'chayav. That's only if the son did not die before the father. The asur lidei ben. So the son first got this property after the father passed away, and then from him it goes to the buyer. But if the son died in the lifetime of the father, so this property never fully came to the possession of the son. Then, if the father passes away, the lekeach is not going to get anything from the sale. That's Rabbi Yochanan. That's how he understands the Mishnah. Now the Gemara explains what's the basis of Rabbi Yochanan's opinion. Why does the son not have the ability to sell this property to a lekeach in the father's lifetime? Alme, what we see is Rabbi Yochanan holds kasavar kinyan peiris, when there's an acquisition, an ownership just of peiris, kikinyan guvdami. It's similar to owning the actual property itself. So over here, in this case, during the father's lifetime, the father owns the peiris. As I explained before, he gives this gift to his son that it should take effect when the father passes away. The peiris still belong to the father. So because the peiris still belong to the father, the son has no ability to sell it to any lekeach. So therefore, if the son died before the father died, the sale does not take effect. So when he was selling this property in the father's lifetime, the sale didn't take effect. That's Rabbi Yochanan. If the son died after the father died, so then the son already got the property fully. The son got the peiris and the karka. So then that kinyan, that kinyan that he made before, now has the ability to fully take effect, because now he owns the whole thing. But not in the father's lifetime, the father owns the peiris, the kinyan can't take effect. That's Rabbi Yochanan. Rab Shimon ben Lakish disagrees, and he says, Kana lekeach, that the lekeach will acquire this property, will get it, even though the son died in the father's lifetime. And he explains, Kikatani masnisim, when the Mishnah says, Machar ben, that if the son sells this property, the lekeach does not get it until the father dies. But kimayisav, when the father dies, miyas, at that point, the lekeach will get this property that the son sold him. Loishna, makes no difference. Loi mesa ben b'chayev, if the son did not die in the father's lifetime, the asulide iliyadi de ben, and the son got it fully, and then it goes to the lekeach. And v'leishna mesa ben b'chayav, or even in a case where the son died already in the father's lifetime, the lo yasil iliyadi de ben, and it didn't fully come to the hands of the son because the father still has the peiris. Kind of lekeach. The lekeach is still going to acquire this kinyan from the son. What do we see from here? Alme kasava. We see that Reish Lakish opinion is kinyan peiris, that if you have an ownership just of fruits, you don't have any kinyan of the guf of the property itself, and therefore, even though the father, while he's alive, has the kinyan of the peiris, the son has the rights and the ability to sell this karka. When the son sells it, he's selling his own karka. Okay, that's the conclusion of this discussion. Benegeh to a son selling this property that the kinyan of the peiris belongs to the father, and the kinyan aguf of the karka belongs to the son. Okay, so what do we see over here? Here the Gemara is going to explain. We follow Reish Lakish's opinion that says that the kinyan of peiris of the father does not prevent the son of selling it to someone. Okay, so now the Gemara says, Vanan. Hashta, also over here, coming back now to our case of a wife that wants to sell her nichse melug, or in this case, she wants to give away her nichse melug to her son. Now, Bein Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, or Bein Rabbi Yehuda, everybody, whether it's Rabbi Yirmiyah or Rabbi Yehuda that argued about this case, Rab Shimon ben Lakish svirulu. We hold over here, we paskin like Rab Shimon ben Lakish in this case. Rashi brings, this is one of the cases that you paskin like Reish Lakish. Usually in Shas, the halacha is always like Rabbi Yochanan, besides 3 cases. And this is one of the 3 cases that you paskin like Reish Lakish. Now, Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba, so now Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba says as follows. If you're going to say that the fact that you own peiris of a property, it's equivalent, it's similar, like you own the whole guf of the property. If so, if the father died, but the son already died before, Why would Rish Lakish say that the Lekeach should get this property that the son sold him? Ki kazovin hai lav yidei kazovin. When the son sold this, he's not selling something that he has the rights to sell, because the father still has a kinyan peitis. And if you're going to tell me the kinyan peitis is strong enough to hold back a sale from the guf, so then the sale shouldn't take effect. Right, so what do you see over here? You see over here that what does Rish Lakish hold? Rish Lakish holds regarding that case of a son selling this property that the father still owns the peitis, that the ownership of the peitis does not prevent the son of selling the guf of the karka to someone else. If so, we should apply the same thing over here as well. Elalav shma mino. From this Mishnah, according to Rish Lakish's opinion, I could learn out that kinyan peitis lav kinyan guf dami. When someone owns just peitis, it's not similar to owning the guf of the karka, and that doesn't prevent the son of selling the karka to a buyer. So the same thing over here, what he's proving is, regarding this case of this mother that gave the karka to her son, even though she's married, and the husband has a kinyan peitis. What's that again? The halacha of nichse melug is the exact same situation. By the nichse melug, the guf of the karka belongs to the wife, sorry, and the peitis belongs to the husband. But from this Mishnah, we should learn out that the fact that the husband owns the peitis shouldn't prevent the wife to give it as a gift to the son. So therefore, Rabbi Yirmiyah is arguing that his psak din, that the son should get this gift of the mother, should take effect. Okay, so after he argued this, Hadrua, Lakamei, the Rav Yehuda, they brought back this argument of Rabbi Yirmiyah to Rav Yehuda. And Amalahu, Rav Yehuda responded and said, Hachi Yama Shmuel. This is what Shmuel said. Zu Eina Daimel Mishnah Seino. No, this case over here of the mother giving the gift to the son from the karka where the peitis is owned by the husband, it's not similar to this case that we just brought from this Mishnah. Why not? My time. Why isn't it similar? Rav Yosef, so Rav Yosef explains. So the point that the Gemara is going to try to say now is that in that Mishnah, when a father gives a gift to his son, our entire assumption in this whole sugi here was that kind of gift that a father gives to his son. And what does the father say? He says to his son, I'm giving you this property as a gift that will be yours when I pass away. We understood that the pshat of this gift is that the guf of the karka is already the son's, and the peitis the father is keeping for himself to eat until he passes away. That's what we understood it. So therefore we're comparing it to our case of the Isha where the peitis belong to the husband and the guf of the karka belongs to her. But the Gemara now will say, no, that's not the pshat of that gift at all. If it would be true that would be the understanding of that gift, itani ipche. If the case was the opposite, hakaisiv nechasav la'aviv, a person that writes that he's giving away a gift to his father. In this kind of a case, if a son would say, I'm giving this karka of mine as a gift to my father, that it should belong to my father when I pass away. Then over there, ikil mifshat mino, from that case, we would be able to say that we have a proof to this case over here. The kinyan peitis, lafka kinyan aguf dami. Like what we just tried to prove, that the kinyan of peitis is not like a kinyan aguf, and that the father would have a right to sell it. And the similar over here, the mother has a right to give it away as a gift. That's in that case. But now the Gemara says, Ela hashta, but over here, what is the Mishnah actually talking about? The Mishnah says, HaKaisiv nechasav l'bnoi. This is a father that's giving a gift to his son. So over here, what's the story with a father that's giving a gift to his son? This is a son that he's a son. He inherits the father. Whether the father gives him the gift, whether the father does not give him the gift, he's anyways going to yashin his father. So what the Gemara is pointing out over here is as follows. In such a case, if this son will anyways yashin the father, what's the point of the father giving his son a gift? Why is he giving him a gift if he's anyways going to yashin him when he passes away? Elamai, it must be that the intention of the father is that he's giving this gift to the son completely. That the son should own this karka 100%. So even if we're going to say that usually the halacha is that the kinyan of peitis is considered to be like a kinyan of guf, but over here, in this case, when the father gave this gift for his son, why did he give the gift for his son? If his son is anyways yashining him, the only reason the father gave over this gift to the son is because he wanted it to be fully the son's, completely, not just the kinyan of the guf and not the peitis. So if it was the other way around, if we're talking about a case where there's a father that's receiving a gift from a son, so over there, the Gemara now understands that there's no inya of Yerusha from the son to the father. So over here, What's the understanding of this gift? The gift is that the son is giving to his father just the guf of the karka and not the peiris. So now we could compare it to our case where you have a wife that owns the guf of the karka and not the peiris. But over here, when we're talking about a father that's giving a gift to his son, since this is a son that anyways yarshins the father, so in such a case, what's the meaning of the gift of the father to the son? The father is giving this gift fully to his son before he passes away. After he passes away, for sure he would have got it anyways. The point of the whole gift is that the son should get it even before he passes away. That's why the Shlokir said that the son has the ability to sell it in the lifetime of the father, because it's a full gift. So therefore, there's no comparison b'chlal to our case that we're talking about. That's the response that Rav Yehuda said. But the Gemara says this is not a good answer. Amalei Abaye, but Abaye said, how could you say that there's a difference between a father giving a gift to a son or the son giving the gift to the father? Amalei Abaye says, Otu bra yaris abba. Is it true that a son yarshins a father, but abba la yaris bra, but a father will not yarshin a son? The concept of Yerusha actually goes both ways. A son can yarshin a father, but a father could also yarshin a son. Mm-hmm. So maybe over here you should say the same svara in the reverse. You can't make this distinction and say that when it comes to a father and a son, over there there's Yerusha, but by a father receiving a gift from a son, there's no Yerusha. That's not true. Elo, therefore the Gemara explains, why does a father do this? Why is a father giving a gift to his son in his lifetime? Or why would a son give a gift to his father in his lifetime? If a son gives a gift to his father, why is he doing this? Even though the father could yarshin the son, but what if this son has his own children? So the Yerusha goes usually to the children. The son is writing it that it should go to the father so that his children shouldn't yarshin, but the Yerusha should go to the father. So if so, over here as well, in the case that the Mishnah is talking about, why is the father giving this gift to his son in his lifetime, even though the son is going to yarshin it anyways when he passes away? Ossi. The father is doing this because he doesn't want the brothers to inherit. He just wants this son to get it. Okay, so therefore, what's the Gemara's conclusion over here? That when the father gives this kind of gift to his son, he's giving him the guf of the karka now, and the peiris are still by the father, and the peiris is only going to be his after the father passes away. What was the point of the father doing this in his lifetime? He's not gaining anything. The son is anyways going to yarshin it when he passes away. The answer is no, he is gaining something. He wants to take it away from the other brothers. So if so, the point the Gemara is saying is, the raya that Rav Yirmiyah brought from this Mishnah to the story before about the mother that gave this karka for her son is still a good raya. Because in the case of this Mishnah, it's a case where there's a kinyan aguf to the son and not kinyan peiris. And by the case of the mother giving it to the son, it's also a case where there's a kinyan aguf and not kinyan peiris. So it's still a good raya from there. So the Gemara explains that there's a different reason. Why are we saying that the case that Rabbi Yirmiyah paskin regarding the wife is not similar to this case of the Mishnah here? We have a clear raya from this Mishnah that when you own a guf karka without the peiris, you could give it away, you could sell it. The answer is mishum takana susha. The fact that a wife cannot sell or give a gift, a karka of nichsi milug, that the husband eats peiris from it, this is a special takana. A takana, the takana is usha. When the Chacham were in Usha, they made this takana. The Amr of Yesi Bar Chanina, but Usha Askinu, in Usha they instituted Ha'isha Shamachra b'nichse belug, b'chaye baila, a wife that sells the nichse belug in their lifetime of her husband, umesa, and then she passes away. The husband can go and take away these properties from the lekuchais. And this means even though l'chayra, she had the right to sell it because she owns the guf of the karka, and we proved from the Mishnah before, as long as you own the guf of the karka, that's enough of an ability to sell it. But nevertheless, it's a special takana for a husband, in order for the husband to know that he's going to yashin from his wife. He shouldn't be upset about this, that she's selling off her stuff to someone else, and there'll become a hatred between the husband and wife. Chacham made a takana that she can't sell it off to anyone else, and even if she sold it, if she dies, the husband is going to be yashining her. So it's a special takana. And that's the reason why Rav Yehuda argued, Shmuel said, he argued on the psak din of Rav Yirmiyah.